So I admire you with all my fucking heart. I mean, when you see people doing what you're doing in the same position, because we're all at the same level, we're happy. That's the number one thing. We're not, our bank accounts aren't busting. We don't have a butler, but boy, are we fucking happy. When we wake up every morning, we have the world by the balls, because we get to tell the world, and people listen or people look at our pictures, our world, what your world is inside you. You know, you look at all these Paris Hiltons, you look at all these people, and people knock reality television. Me, it works for a guy like me, because I was never going to be on a scripted show, but I'll be the king of reality, because I'll take you for a fucking ride. I'll
Right.
take you for a fucking ride. And that's what podcast has done. Podcast is an extension of fucking of reality TV. It's all that is, an extension of reality TV. When I got into the podcast business, I made a promise to myself. I listened to a bunch of podcasts, and for some people, they were extensions of their comedy routines, and that works for them. And they look into the podcast a little different. With the podcast I do, whether it's GRE, any podcast, I like to expose myself somewhere. I want to take you on a ride. I want to let you know what I did, even though it wasn't the happiest thing or the happiest memory, and how I recovered from it. And I never got stuck in that place. You know, a lot of people get stuck. Yeah, I got stuck during my divorce, and I got stuck, with comedy. Sometimes you get stuck with what decisions you're going to make. But I'm not stuck anymore. And it's because of art, and artists are a very special breed of people, because we all know each other's pains. I don't have to know you. I looked at your artwork, and right away I fell in love with you. You didn't know me. You fucking listened to me on the podcast, and we became friends. You brought me a Biggie pad, which I still have and
Yeah.
make notes there. So you knew how to get under my skin without saying nothing. You brought me a piece of my soul, which I owe you forever. So
Um,
that's what art is. Art is a piece of your soul, and you're giving it to somebody. And people don't appreciate that no more. In today's society, it's this. We're sitting in the VIP section. Those people don't give you the art from their soul. It's people like us that give you the art from our soul. It's a great thing what we
yeah,
do.
it's important, because I think a lot of us, and it's not to like say that there's anything wrong with it, but a lot of us get stuck in like our day-to-day bullshit where we gotta go work a office job that we don't want to go to, fucking pay the bills that we don't want to pay, we gotta feed our fucking kids and do that whole routine. So a lot of people, they lose out on a lot of things that happen in this life that maybe some creative types who focus their time the way that they choose, um, get to experience. And and that's not to say it's like, oh, somebody's better than you, or any of that shit. But there's just, it's funny you say, how there's this, I don't know if you said jealousy, or like there's like how you're able to make things with pictures, but you're telling a story. Like I often find that like I become envious of a storyteller, because I'm trying to tell this story, but it's so cryptic and sort of wrapped up in this like this hidden message in this painting that it's not always it's not that clear to the viewer, which works out, because when I'm making things, I want the viewer to wrap their own experience around it. Which do you find that in with the stories that you tell, like, do you want people to wrap their own experience around it, or is storytelling more about total focus on putting them where you've been? That thought just came to me right off the top of my head.
First of all, it's really weird. I don't. When I was a kid, my brother George, who I've introduced you to, George Kolodinsky's a great framer in Jersey. He would take me into the city. He had a friend that would do art in the city. And I remember I would go over there and look, and I didn't know, I was a fucking street kid. I'm in a fucking museum looking at art. I can't
Yeah.
believe, like, what does this do for you? And it's weird because you can't get anything from a picture from looking at it once. You can look at it and you feel something, then if you look at it a week later, you'll feel something else. And the more you look at that picture weekly, it means something else to you until you put the whole picture together. You take this, you take the. So a picture, when you look at a picture, you can look at it, and the first week you'll figure something out about the artist. But the more you look at that picture, you'll see all the things come together of that artist, and it's a really neat experience to see. Like with a storyteller that we do. You know, for years I just did jokes, and then I figured out that everybody's got a half hour, so I want to take you into my world, and the only way to take you into my world is with stories, is to tell you what I've done, and then you have to make your own correlation. When I read a book, when I read about the Stones, I read about the Mick Jagger book, I read about the Ron Wood book, and I read the Keith Richards book, and in there I decide what really happened.
Yeah.
That's where I decide as the viewer. And the same thing with storytelling. Ever since I've been doing the Catholic school joke, so many people have come up to me and said, "Dog, I went to Catholic school.
That's I
You
wanted
took
to
me
say
there."
it too.
It's amazing, and that's the same connection you have.
Yeah.
When I was telling jokes, I wasn't connecting with people. He's a funny guy, and I would go home, and that's it. But now that I'm telling my soul to people, now that you hear it, either you like me or you don't, and you come see me, and we have a good time. And usually now, the people that are coming to see me, I get along with everybody.
Yeah.
On the way out, people used to run when they come see me. Fuck that. But now I get along with everybody. We hang out. The show got out an hour ago. We're still here,
Yeah.
and there's still people in front talking, and that's what we do. We take you into. I always wanted to take people into my living room, but I was very scared to. So I would give you topical jokes. I'd go out there and do little jokes that would make you laugh, Rodney Dangerfield type stuff. But I really wanted to open my heart out to people, and it's worked. It's working for me. And the only thing that's a shame about it is that I'm learning about it at an old age. I'm learning about it at 48. If I could have known this at 20, it would have made my life a lot different. That to know where you are and to be honest all the time and to tell people about where you've been, because it makes your life a lot easier. We always try to find all these things to be cool. Let's go to
Yeah, yeah.
Starbucks and
Yeah.
shit like that. I always went to Starbucks. I didn't like being there because the people in there didn't know my journey and I didn't know their journey. When you reveal your journey to people, it makes your life a complete different story. Look at if we would have just been Twitter friends talking, we would have been at a different level. Once you
Yeah.
revealed your soul to me in that picture of Charles Bronson, that was it, dog. We're friends for life. You just bailed me out of jail. That means we're friends for life. We built a bond. I read your pain, and you know my pain. That's our common fucking bond. I'm high off that chocolate bar already. If I'm talking too
Yeah,
much,
we
cocksucker. You fucking
we
gave me the chocolate bar of death to
God
fuck.
damn. Yeah, we also smoked the blunt of life,
The blunt
which
of life.
which I don't know if you remember. I take some silly fucking pride in helping spawn a new name, because the blunt of life used to have a different name, right?
What was it?
It was the blunt of death.
Death, yes.
Yeah, and I made some comment, just being like the positive guy,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely, yes.
And from then on, it's been the blunt of life.
The
from
blunt
then
of
on.
life, yes. It
So
has.
there must have been
Something you
100
did.
people out there, like screaming your words that you say on the regular. Everyone does their impersonations of you out there. So I catch some. It's funny. I keep fucking with this camera. I catch some strange pride from the blunt of life.
No, the blunt, and it's true because the blunt of life is the blunt of life. If you do it in the morning, it gives you life. First thing in the morning, and it doesn't have to be a blunt. It's just a little bit of grass, just to get your day going. You got a bad back, whatever the fuck it is that's killing you. You smoke a little bit in the morning, and it really does make your life a little brighter early in the morning. You can't get too stoned. Sometimes you get too stoned and you pass out. Then I'm waking up at fucking 1 o'clock. I can't do that. But just a little blunt of life. When I say it, I don't even mean it as a head. I mean it as something on a positive level. The blunt of life, bro.
Yeah.
It gives life.
And I'm the same way. Like I barely ever smoke blunts. I only brought a blunt today just because the name goes so good. Like the word, it's like I do super joint sometimes. Super joint.
Super joint.
Super joint
Bong
roll.
hits for Jerry's kids.
Yeah.
Bong hits for Jesus. Ralphie May
Yeah.
calls it. We all have our different what we take from it. Some people smoke and they see Jesus. God bless you. That's what you're into.
That's man. I get up and smoke, and it puts me on an even keel. Like it's almost like I don't even really get high anymore. Like except for that wax. That new shop opened up. They got them wax bong hits right there for you to hit right there on the counter, and that shit puts me in la la land.
I did comedy at LA Confidentially on a Thursday night. They have a show there every Thursday, and they have the hash bar also, where you sit down and they put the hash in and they fill it in, and it's quite the experience. The Skywalker. How long have you been drawing for? How long have you been involved with art?
I've made things since I could get a pencil in my hand. I actually have the first painting I ever did. My grandfather lived up near Santa Barbara and did a lot of like landscape, sort of Bob Ross sort of style shit. And he was an oil painter, and he ran this trailer park up there. It was an all retired trailer park, and he had a studio set up on the side of his thing, and we both did the same painting at the same time. So you'd be like, okay, here's this brushstroke, and I would do that brushstroke. All right, this brushstroke goes this way, and do that brushstroke. So we did these two paintings over a weekend, and I still have the two canvases. They sit up on my wall, and I just a couple, I guess last year I got a portrait of him that his buddy had did because he hung out with like this group of artists that made shit all the time, and they all hung out and probably smoked weed and drank whiskey and got wild or whatever. But so I did those two, and then my mom was really good at drawing, and so I always had this like competition. Like I was like, I gotta be better than her. Like I knew that I think because I got attention from it at an early age. Like I was like, ooh, this is something that made sense to me, right? And so, I talk about this too, like how it's sometimes it's an escapism doing the work. There's a fine line between escapism and then like getting into that meditative phase of like clearing the mind of all the bullshit, like of being right there in the present, that idea of being in the present and doing it now. But so I did it my whole life, and then like in high school I got a documentary that me and another artist got filmed for that's coming out this summer. And in the film, there's in the trailer it says he asked me about something about art, and I took one art class in high school, and we were supposed to draw this fucking shoe or something, and I didn't like how my drawing turned out, so I turned it into like a robot or a werewolf or something fucking silly, and I tried to turn it in. He said, no, 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 you can't turn this in. You gotta draw a shoe. And I was like, no, I'm turning this in, and it was at that exact, and I ended up getting kicked out of the class because I got smart and said some nasty shit or something because I was like that.
You were an artist.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
said what the fuck was on your mind.
So I was like, no, this is it. And he's like, if you don't draw a shoe, I'm kicking you out of the class. I was like, then kick me out of the class. And it was at that moment I knew that art was what I wanted it to be, and there wasn't no motherfucker that was gonna tell me what I could and couldn't make. Like, and I was only 16, 15 or
And
something.
how long have you been making a living off your art?
I'm coming up on a decade now, 10 years of doing it
for
full
you.
time without any like real
Good
job
for you.
type of shit.
Congratulations.
But I'll tell you what, the last 2 years has been a struggle. Like,
Hey man, but you know what? It's like the guy said, you can't always get what you want, but you get what you need.
yeah,
And that's the main thing as an artist. I always hear that in the back of my head every morning. It's weird because I always wanted to learn how to draw. And my inspiration for drawing came from a weird place. When I was 5 or 6, my mother remarried. And she remarried this guy named Juan Tuero, who was a tremendous big-time bookmaker of Cuban numbers. But his main thing was his handwriting and his drawings. And when he was in prison, when I was a young kid, he would send me all these pictures of Mickey Mouse and stuff. And because I sketched off things, like I'd take a piece of paper and you sketch off the thing, I thought that's how he did it. So I always looked at it like, yeah, that's nothing. I took it as a present, like an empty present. And then when he got out of prison, he would date my mother, and then they got married. He became my stepfather. And I would see him in the mornings, man, drawing from fucking memory. Drawing Mickey Mouse. He would look at it for a while and then draw and look at it, and I would always wait for him to cheat on me and sketch it.
yeah.
And he would draw anything, Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse. He just drew all these things for me, and I remember I was so envious of him. Like I used to send when I was a kid. They had those contests also. Send it in and win like a year at a scholarship.
yeah, yeah.
And I would try to send his work in like mine, and then and I was too young, and it was a scam. But it was amazing. That was my first thing about art. And I tell you something about Juan Tuero that I've talked about before on the podcast. I seen Juan shoot a guy. I seen Juan slice a guy one time. His main weapon was to shoot guys with tear gas. Like he'd have it in a pencil, like over here, and just shoot him at people and walk away. He was a badass dude, but it's amazing that he had the love for art he had. All day long he would read love miniseries, those little Cuban novellas, the Spanish ones. I mean, this guy was a killer, and he read little novellas. But the beauty about him was his art. His art was so, and even now he's been dead for 6 years, and you go to his house 10 years ago, and he'd have art that he made, and he didn't know what it was worth. He didn't know nothing.
Yeah.
He would just look at a picture and draw it. But it's amazing that he had this gift, and he never did nothing with it. And it was just amazing that. part of my anger towards him, yeah, he didn't give me my mom's money. He was a good stepfather, but part of my anger towards him was that he never did nothing with his art. Isn't that
Oh
stupid? Like,
man, yeah,
I always thought, you always admire people that you feel you can't do what they do. In a
yeah,
way.
right,
Like
right.
you look at it, like when
Uh-huh.
I see the Charles Bronson picture, I was sold. I would have sucked your dick that morning. I'm like, this is fucking amazing because it's art. It's like tonight you watch me on stage and you're like, wow, that's art. Whether I'm
Yeah.
talking about fucking or shooting people or, it's art because we're talking. We're giving you a piece of us. Like I said
Hmm.
before, it's our soul. And Juan didn't know what his really gift was when he came to this planet. He didn't know. He really didn't know what his gift was. He thought he was a bookmaker, and he thought he was just gonna shoot people for a living. But his main gift
That's
was art.
that's what happens for a lot of people. I mean, because it's almost like we're trained, you know, to uh, to to be like as if being creative is childish, sort of like we're supposed to move out of it in this sort of capitalistic society. And a lot of people don't know that you can actually make money and survive doing the shit that you want to do, distracted by this window up here.
Well, it's really funny because I'm sitting here thinking about how you know, you draw a picture, you put the fruit or whatever you draw, and what's the value of art? How can I say to you, well, Mike Maxwell, what do you want for that Charles Bronson picture? You
Uh-huh.
look at me and go, well, I put 11 hours in. The fucking canvas cost me this. The frame cost me this. This is what the picture should be. This is what my hourly rate is. This is what I like to get an hour,
Uh-huh.
35 an hour, and everything. I did 11 hours, so that's 400. I need 750. But in a way, art is whatever you pay for it. Art, you could say 10,000.
Yeah.
How does these? I read about all these pictures that go for $2 million or eight hundred
Uh-huh.
thousand dollars. Art is, what makes somebody go in their checkbook and fork over 8,000 for a picture.
I still don't know the answer to that. It's so strange, and and that's like what I was saying before, like having people hear what some of my stories are, like being open and honest about certain things. Like this last show that I did, I sold a ton of stuff, and it's funny. I talk about it a lot. Like the people who buy my work typically are like blue collar, like working people who probably aren't spending money on art on the regular, right? Like so people who are if they go out and spend $500 on a piece of art, that's a lot of dough for them. Like that's a big investment, and so they have to have something that's really touches them to to get down and really fork out the dough for that shit. But the thing is like I said, like I have a working class sort of collector base that I almost gain like I have more respect that it's more difficult for a working class person to fork out $300 than it is for like a white collar person to fork out 3 grand. Like I understand
Right,
that
right, right.
mentality, and I actually it's almost like it feels better like selling the $300 painting instead of the $3,000 painting because I know it means a little bit more. Like I know it's not just like a frugal or not frugal, but a sort of frivolous just mantle thing to put on the mantle, like a trophy type thing. But it's actually something that like these people have some strange connection to
Right,
that
right, right.
they really are putting their soul into it. It's and so the value ends up being what the market will pay for
The
it.
market paid for
But
it.
I've really been wanting to try to look. I've been looking at comedians, and seeing like the way that like a traveling comedian makes money. So like as an artist, we don't have the opportunities to play every week. Like we perform once every 3 months, 4 months, because that's how long it takes to make all the work and
Work,
put it
right.
up and do the shit. So I've been trying to think of like ways to sort of emulate the business plan of how a comedian can go from city to city, or how a musician, a traveling band, can go from city to city, play a show, get those fans, because that's part of the thing is you got to be out there talking to the people. Now we have the internet and shit, so like we can get out there on Twitter and talk to people, and we have the podcast. So like I have 55 plus hours of my fucking loud mouth running out there, so
Now you
there's
have a
people to
web
find.
page with your work on it, just your work that you're
Yeah,
selling and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah. But
Where is that?
mostly I it's that's
Okay.
MikeMaxwellArt.com, and then it has the links to where everything else goes to. But I have to sell my work through a gallery, and a gallery takes 50%.
Oh shit!
So when you're looking at a piece of artwork that, let's say, it cost $1,000, the artist is getting 500. So the artist is selling that piece for
And why
500.
could you only have to sell it through a gallery? That's the only way it would go.
You don't you. I've done a lot better without the middleman, but there's something about like the prestige level. Like if you want to start getting into museums and into older age, you have to be showing in the right galleries. You have to be showing to the right people. But maybe that might be the old paradigm. And I've been talking about this shit. Like we might be able to maybe this might put me in trouble. But we might be able to wreck these fools and tell all these galleries to go suck a dick.
Suck a dick, yeah.
Because we have, look at all of us have all of our, 5,000 fans on your Facebook. You got all your fucking Twitters. You're directly connected to the people. And back in the day, there wasn't that connection. There wasn't no connection to the artists. The artists hung out with the other artists and did their shit, and you saw them at the openings, but that was it. Now we're out here in the public doing our shit. We have a connection to the people, but it's almost like there's an unspoken set of rules that we all have to sort of follow our way through, which I guess is sort of life.
That's
Right?
the way. Hey man, everybody's got to make a living. 50% a gallery. And what's the gallery you have the art show now?
I have the show up at Subtext Gallery.
And where's that at?
That's in Little Italy, right down near the airport. Right, those fucking. Have you ever flown into the San Diego airport?
Never.
It's wild, man. It comes down over North Park, and it just skims. It's almost like it's skipping on the water over the tops of the buildings coming in.
No,
and it's actually the gallery's right in the flight path. Right
and when is it open to your gallery? When is the show?
The show is up now, and it's open till June 19th.
You don't give me enough time.
Yeah.
It's 2 fucking weeks. You never invited me. I'd love to come down and look at your stuff.
Yeah,
we get together next week or something. Maybe let me check my schedule. I don't have much next week. The week after that, after June 18th, I'm on a fucking like 8 weeks or something. So after June 18th, my hands are pretty full after that.
I've been hearing you talk about the one man show a lot. I'm really excited to see what sort of directions you go. I think for me, I've talked about this quite a bit. That now listening to podcasts of comedians, it gives me a better respect for the artwork. But at the same time, I almost find myself a little more interested in the stories, like getting those half-hour stories where I don't have to laugh every 30 seconds or whatever the rhythm is. That I could sit down and just listen.
Our dear friend Ari Shafir has a thing in Hollywood called Storytellers, and it's a show where comedians go up and tell a story about a certain sports or whatever. He always picks it. And it's weird that I always, I have a repertoire of stories, and I did his a couple times, and he posted them, and I got good reviews off and stuff. And my one-man show, I started writing about 3 years ago, and these are all the stories that I never had the heart to tell people. Like when people say, oh, well, my mother threw my dad out, threw his clothes out the window, I would just sit there and go, wow. My mom hit my stepdad in the head with a fucking bottle of cologne, and he never came home. Shit like that. And I have all these stories, and I wanted the people to feel my pain when I was younger, so I put together a one-man show, and it's called Answer Me When I Call, and it's about me growing up in this Cuban house that with bookies and whatnot, and what I learned from them, what I took from each of them, like even though Juan was a fucking killer, you know what I'm saying?
Go ahead, here, we'll just take a little pause.
What's up, little brother?
Hey, what's going on, Joey?
What's up, buddy?
We got some fans down here asking about you.
Yeah, you
Hold
said.
on one second. Jack wants to talk to you. Hold on. Hello.
Hello.
¿Qué pasó?
What's up, buddy?
This is Jack. I don't know if you want to stop by later on. I said you always stop by. There's 2 people, Cuban friends of yours are here.
I'm in San Diego, but I'm gonna leave here in about. They want to give me a spot, and I told them to give me a fucking spot, and now he's cocksuckers. So.
All right. Well, I'll let you. Let's wrap this thing up. We got a good 20 minutes.
Yeah, that was great.
And,
what are we talking about? We're talking about the one-man show.
Yeah, the one-man show. I definitely want to get the words out on that.
So I put together this thing, and it takes me through birth through 15. what I seen those first 15 years, and I got a director to work with me. And I'm
Oh, wait. Hold on. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I didn't hit the record again.
Okay.
Fuck. All right.
So the one man show is basically about me 0 to 15, coming from Cuba, growing up with my mom. My mom, meeting this Juan Tuero, who I said was a big time bookmaker. So was my mom, and then they broke up, and what happened to us after him and my mom broke up, and it's basically my relationship with my mother. And I'm doing, I got a theater, Zombie Joe's Theater in North Hollywood, and I'll be running it all Wednesdays in August. I'm going to be running 5 Wednesdays. I've already done a couple workshops and gotten some people involved, and I think I got something good. Because,
Yeah.
again, it lets you know more. It lets once you go see that, you're like, oh, now I know where he got that from. Oh, now I know. And that's the interesting thing. It's like when you go to your friend's house. How old are you now, Mike Maxwell?
32.
So in about 10 years, you're going to be going to your friend's house from high school, and you're going to meet their kids. And you're going to be sitting there looking at their kids, and his kid's going to do something, and you're going to go, wow, your dad used to do that when you were 10 or 11. And you see it, and now it explains everything. Seeing one thing maybe explains a lot of things about a person. And that's why I'm doing the one-man show, is really to put it all out there a little bit even more. I want Joe Diaz 3D. I decided a couple of years ago that every comedian has 30 good minutes. We're all very funny and insightful in our own little way. But the next couple of years, you have to open up. It's going to be 3D Joe Diaz, 3D Mike Maxwell. People want to really take a look inside your soul. And that's just the decision, I think. Times are getting harder, economically, socially, and people want to find comfort someplace. And as long as people think that you're on the same level as they are, or we've been through the same things, we have a connection. And that's where I think the next couple of years is going to go. You know, Oprah's gone and Elvis is dead, so somebody's got to cover the fucking spread. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. Well, I think we're on that fucking positive track, and I know that you've done that for me, and I already see me doing that for other people.
You've
Not
done
to
it for
scratch
me,
my own
man.
back, but it's
No.
like, you know,
This
it's
is
that
what
fucking
it's all
thing.
about. It's all about there's people in your life that matter. Everybody matters. Everybody matters now. You know, Japan's fucking floating. Everything matters now to us. It's not just your community. And I used to always get mad at things. And if you change maybe something that you do, other people see it, and everybody changes. It all starts with you, bro. It all starts with you. You know, I went to yoga this morning. I seen a girl that was 500 fucking pounds. I wanted to go over and give her a hug.
Yeah.
But I see her in yoga, and it all starts with that yoga. It all starts with that little change. And, you know, me giving her a hug afterward and fucking around with her about Yum Yum Donuts, she said she'd meet me there Tuesday again. So do you understand me? She said,
Yeah.
fine. I went up to her because I know what it is to be 500 pounds. And for some people to look at you, so I knew her pain.
Yeah.
So by me going up to her and fucking around with her saying, come back, and giving her a hug, her stomach was way bigger than mine ever was at 400 pounds. I mean, it was heartbreaking. But she's a young girl, and my wife met her, and we had a great time. So me spreading that little bit of positive to her. I know how hard it is to be 500 pounds. You do an hour of yoga, you're going to go eat 15 fucking cakes. That's just the psychology in the back of your mind. But as long as she keeps coming to the gym, if I changed her a little bit, if I let her know it was okay to come to the gym, it don't matter if you're a fat fuck. Even the skinny people at the gym look out for you.
Yeah.
Because they respect that you go into the gym. You know, you see somebody fat with 3 fucking cheeseburgers on the corner, you're like, look at that fat fuck. When you see him in the gym on a bike sweating, and you know what they're going through,
Yeah.
it gives you a different respect to them. You know, so that's what my one-man show is about, and that's all I got to tell you tonight, Mike Maxwell, because I love you to death. Please keep supporting Mike Maxwell. He's a straight-up fucking gangster of art. That's why I love you, cocksucker.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. I love you too.
Thank you for having me on the podcast,
so
and I'll do it anytime for you.
Attaboy. You're Mad Flavor on the Twitters.
Facebook, Twitter, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
All right, brother. Let's do a dap for the end of this thing. Nice.
I love
All
you
right,
guys.
thanks,
Mike
Joey.
Maxwell Art. Let's go outside. Bullshit a little bit. You want to eat something? You're all right.